Morning, everyone, and welcome to FWC. We are here at the opening morning of the lobster sports season here in the beautiful Florida Keys. Maybe you're already here, maybe you're considering coming down for the sports season, or even coming down for the regular season, which opens next week. But I'm going to get on board with law enforcement today. We're here at our dock. You can see our boat here. I'm going to pan right on over and show you my captains for the day. Hi folks, we're going to introduce them in just a minute, but I'm actually going to get on board and we're going to go for a quick little ride for lobster season and talk about what we're doing out here and what's going on in the Keys. So I'm coming on board here, guys. Give me just a moment. Thank you, Officer Doobie. Appreciate it. And we're going to get cranked up and ready to go, so just give us just a minute. We appreciate you joining us on our vessel ride this morning. So, quick tip there, officer. What's a good tip to remember when you're leaving the dock?
Untie, first thing.
Untie, first thing. So,
make sure your fenders are in as well.
Oh, yes, your fenders. And if you don't know anything about boats, a boat fender is one of these guys here, right? And that just is a protective measure for when we come alongside other boats or when we're docking the boats, etc. So we are underway. I'm just going to pan around here. We've got some lobster action here right in front of us as we're pulling out. See, these folks are snorkeling. They're looking for lobsters. And you can see all the boats in the distance as well. And first thing I'll put out, kudos to this person right in front of us. They've got their dive flag displayed, as they should, because they have divers in the water. So I'm going to come over real quick. Let's introduce my captains and that will be operating the vessel today. On my right is
Bobby Dewey with the FWC down here in the Florida Keys.
Yep, and over here to my left.
Hi, I'm FWC Officer Paige Pesca. I'm the recruiter for South Florida.
All right, awesome. Two very important positions. Bobby, I'm going to talk a little bit about him today. This is his last
lobster sports season here, and not just the Keys, but I'm retiring very soon.
Yep, he's retiring very soon. So a big shout out to you, Bobby. 32 years in the Florida Keys, his entire career. And I just want to say, great job for all the work you've done, especially helping me out through all the years talking about lobster.
It's been a fun ride.
It has been, absolutely. I've learned a lot from this guy right here and from Officer Pesca as well, but I've spent a lot of time with Bobby working. So anyways, we're going to come over here. We're talking about lobster. So where are we at?
We're Bayside Windley Key. We just left our office docks here, our little station here in Islamorada, but we're Bayside Windley Key presently.
Okay, Bayside Windley Key. And is it considered Upper Keys still in this area?
Yeah, Upper Keys, Upper Matacumbe Key, Islamorada, Village of the Islands. So we have many names for our little area here.
Okay, fantastic. So let's take a little ride and just see what's going on.
Okay.
I'm going to stop talking for a minute and let our viewers just kind of enjoy the scenery. It's a beautiful day here in the Upper Keys, Islamorada area.
As you can see, there's some scuba divers here off your left. Carolyn, I'm down some people scuba diving for lobsters. Got their divers down flag. For the time being, everyone is behaving.
For the time being, everyone's behaving. Yes. It's early yet. It's opening morning. We had some bully netters here last night. I was lucky enough to go out with some of the officers last night. Again, during bully netting, there was a pretty bad storm that actually came through in the Upper Keys, Key Largo area last night. So not a whole lot of bullying activity up there when I was out. But, speaking of people behaving themselves, so you see Officer Doobie there. Remember, even though we're live, he's still doing the job of the law enforcement officer, which this is a slow speed zone area.
Yes, it is. It's actually a slow speed, idle speed here in Whale Harbor Channel. We have a lot of scuba divers here, snorkelers, so he's going a little fast. You don't want anyone to get ran over here, especially when we're here in the area. So just trying to make sure everyone has a safe and enjoyable experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, one of the terms that we use in law enforcement is situational awareness. And that is going to be very key for anybody, not only for our staff and people, our partner agencies that are out here doing some of this enforcement for lobster season, but also for every single person that's in the water or on a boat recreating. There's a lot of folks down here. And just keeping a proper lookout is so, so important. So again, just giving you a little look. You got some snorkelers there in the distance. They've got their individual dive flag that they're pulling. There's regulations that are specific to the individual dive flag and the vessel dive flag. If you've been watching us the last couple of days, we have covered all of that information, but you can certainly go to the KeysLobsterSeason.com website as well. You can go to the FWC website. You can look at our social media posts that we've been doing. The information is out there and accessible for you to find. So we're coming out here in the channel and just going to pan back around a little bit, give you guys a different view of what's behind us. This is the area that we just left, and we're in the Winley Key area, correct?
Yes, and a little fun fact, Carolyn.
Yes.
As we went underneath the bridge here, we went from the Gulf of Mexico. Now we're presently in the Atlantic Ocean. So a little fun fact, which only happens down here in the Florida Keys when you go from Bayside to Oceanside, from Gulf to Atlantic, just by going underneath a bridge.
That's a great fun fact.
Yes.
Only in the Florida Keys. You heard it from Bobby Doobie. Only in the Florida Keys. And speaking of only in the Florida Keys, you know, the Keys are not the only place that people can recreate for lobster, correct?
Correct. Primarily, people do it in South Florida, but here in the Florida Keys, the water is gin clear. We have a lot more areas where families can bring their small children, teenage kids down here and snorkel while they get lobster. You don't really have to go scuba diving, as you know, the further north you go in the Palm Beaches, the water's a lot deeper, and you really have to, you know, scuba dive to get your lobsters.
Yeah. And, you know, and because it's different here and it's so popular, you know, there are some different regulations here. So again, we've been talking about this for the several days, but what's specific to this sports season here in Monroe County?
Monroe County and Biscayne National Park, it's only 6 lobsters per person per day, whereas everywhere else in the state of Florida, it's 12 lobsters per person per day. But remember, it goes back to 6 lobsters per person per day after the August 6th when the regular season starts. So the 12 per person and Dade and Collier is not existent anymore. So it goes back to the 6. So that's something to remember once regular season starts.
Right. And regular season starts, what's the date again?
August 6th.
August 6th. So that's just next week, regular season. Be sure that you are getting yourself educated and informed on the different regulations and the bag and season limits as they change. So, you know, speaking from a law enforcement perspective, how are we doing so far? You mentioned that the public is behaving. Have we made any cases that you have been informed of so far?
Everyone has been behaving so far. It's early in the day yet. We've already had a couple of boating mishaps in the lower Keys, so I don't know the particulars of those yet, but yeah, we've had a couple of boating accidents where somebody was hit by a propeller. So we just want to be extra careful and mindful when you're out here. No drinking and boating. If you are going to do that, have a designated driver, you know, and stay close to your dive flag. And if you are, you know, underway, observe other people's dive flag and come off a plane and have an observer and look for, you know, snorkelers or divers in the water.
Okay. All good tips, all super important tips. We talked a little bit about keeping that proper lookout. Just to give you a perspective here in the distance, you have this boat here that's got its dive flag displayed for the vessel. You got divers in the water. A 300-foot perimeter is what's required to keep away from that dive flag. So, you know, keep in mind that there's a lot of boats out here, and just be respectful of that dive flag and keep that 300-foot perimeter. It is a safety issue, first and foremost, so that when you have people in the water, accidents don't occur. And Officer Doobie mentioned a good thing about boating accidents, a good reminder. A lot of people are loading and unloading from the back of the boats. So remember to not have that vessel engaged and under power when you're loading people. Make sure everybody is on the boat first before you engage the engines on the boat. That's an important tip. It's unfortunate we see propeller injuries sometimes in the boating accidents that we investigate. So I wanted to cover, can we change captains for just a minute, and maybe Officer Doobie, you can come up here for just a minute and talk to me. I'd like to go over that, how to measure the lobster correctly. Just one more time. It's important. Would you think that short lobsters, I mean, isn't that probably one of the most...
It's the most popular citation in our office.
That's what I was trying to get to. Thank you.
Not just FWC, but U.S. Coast Guard and the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. They have all their Marine units out assisting us today out here on the water. But that's probably the most popular violation we come across is undersized lobsters, and a lot of the time it's people just improperly knowing how to measure them. So I have my gauge. You need to have your measuring device or your gauge in the water with you when you're lobstering. And I have a mold here, and I'm going to show you how to measure it. The state law is you have the carapace or the head right here. It needs to be greater than 3 inches. Okay, so slide your gauge in between the two lobster horns and push that eye membrane down. Okay, and if the gauge were to fall off the back of the lobster, it would be undersized. So this is a healthy lobster. It's a keeper. So this one you can put in your catch bag after it's properly measured. So again, you want to go in between the horns. I don't know if you can see that. Go up there in between the horns, push that eye membrane down. If the gauge were to fall off the back, it would be considered undersized and have to immediately release that lobster back to its habitat.
Thank you so much. And just to clarify, people need to be measuring that lobster before they bring it on the boat, correct?
Yes. Actually, you need to measure that lobster before it goes in your catch bag, dive bag, your BC, whatever you're using to hold those lobsters, especially before it goes into the boat. It needs to be measured. Also, I like to instruct people occasionally, even though it's late in the season, when you do catch a lobster, roll it over, look under the tail, make sure it's not an egg-bearing lobster. It's very prominent. It'll have, they call them buried lobsters. It'll have orange or reddish, like caviar-looking material underneath the tail. And those are millions and millions of eggs. So that thing you need to immediately release, no matter the size of it, back into the wild. That is a very expensive citation, so don't get caught with a buried lobster. It's easy to see, like I said, just flip the lobster over, look at the tail, and it's very prominent, and immediately release it.
That's great. And again, you can find out all that information on a couple of the other live videos I've done with Officer Doobie over the last couple of days and another officer here at FWC. We've showed you some pictures of what that egg-bearing female lobster looks like. It's so important to the ecosystem, millions of eggs, so be sure you let that go. And as Officer Doobie said, that's a pretty hefty citation if you're caught in possession of one of those.
Yes, it is.
So thank you so much. So I'm going to pan over a little bit again just to give you a little look. We've got people kind of out recreating everywhere. You can see lots of boats in the distance. On our Facebook Live, or YouTube Live rather, that we did on Monday, we talked a little bit about habitat. Lobsters during the day are located in structure, and during night, bully netting occurs here only in the Florida Keys, and that's more of a lobster environment where they are on the grassy flats. So we just got a boat coming by us here. And just taking a look at really the beautiful scenery. So I'm actually going to ask Officer Doobie, when you get a chance, can you come back up? And I'm going to hand you the camera because I want to talk just briefly about some of that habitat-related issue. And just give some messaging. Sorry. Did you have a question? We're running a live, but if you had a question, we can help you.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, it was. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So
We aim to please.
Yes, we do. So again, what we do every day, not only are these officers at FWC law enforcement officers, but they are also great sources of information, and we like to help educate anybody that wants to ask a question. So if you're out here and you're out on the waters, Bobby, can they flag someone down and ask them a question?
Of course. I have that happen to me a lot. They wave us just like this gentleman did, ask us a question or wave us down, whether it's for a boating safety inspection or if they have a question about any fishing or lobster regulations. So just because we're in a boat doesn't mean we can't answer any questions. So it's better to ask an officer than find out from a friend that really doesn't know the laws and regulations and then find yourself, in a sticky situation.
Absolutely. And listen, if you need an explanation on how to measure that lobster, ask. We're happy to break out our gauges that they carry and show you how to correctly measure that lobster as well.
We did that a lot over the last 4 days at the lobster information booth. A lot of people from all over the continental United States, from as far as Washington State, coming down here to the Keys for lobster sports season. And you know, it's a lot of first timers, and they really had no idea what a Florida lobster looked like. A lot of them thought they had pinchers, which those are the main lobsters, and they had no idea how to measure lobsters. So we did a lot of instruction on how to properly measure lobsters at the information booth.
Yep, and we did a great job, and we want to give a little shout out to Divers Direct. They've been a great partner for us through the years up in Key Largo.
And the TDC and the Sheriff's Office.
Yep, and the TDC, which is here in Monroe County, and the Sheriff's Office, and Coast Guard too. We're all out here educating and enforcing the lobster regulations. So we appreciate all that help from partners. So I'm going to give, hi. We've got some folks. We're running a live, so hey.
Thank you.
Well, that was awesome.
Yes, and you worked a couple of days at the Lobster information booth with me, and we get a lot of that. A lot of people appreciate not just FWC, but law enforcement throughout the country, and we can never hear enough of that.
Yep, agreed. So I'm going to give you the camera, and I'm going to actually get on the camera for just a second. So, Bobby, can you see me?
I can see you.
Okay, awesome. Hey, everybody. Carolyn Parrish at FWC. I'm the Public Information Coordinator here in the South Region. And the Keys is one of the areas that I cover, and I'm lucky and blessed to be in this position. That being said, I want to talk just briefly a little bit about habitat. If you've been following us at all, you know I've been talking about the Florida Coral Crew and Florida's Coral Reef Track. Remember, if you're out here anytime in the Florida Keys, whether it's during lobster season or it's just you're down here recreating, because we've got a lot to do down here, the reef track is 360 miles long. It's suffering from stony coral tissue loss disease. We need your help just to get engaged, get educated, find out what's going on with the disease, find out what FWC, our Fish and Wildlife Research Institute, all the partner agencies, all the other partners that are not governmental, such as Moat Marine Lab here in the Florida Keys, DEP, Florida's Coral Reef is what we're talking about. Get engaged, get involved, join the Coral Crew. If you're out here anytime in the Keys on the reef track, please rinse your dive gear. Keep a freshwater rinse on the boat, just a 5-gallon bucket. Rinse your dive gear between sites. Don't anchor on or near the coral reef. It's super important for that. Don't touch the coral. Right here in the Keys, we are growing healthy coral to replace where the disease has come through the reef track. So if you see healthy coral, you might in fact be seeing science at work. It might be on a piece of cement, it might be affixed to the reef. Equally important, please don't touch that brand new coral. We're doing science. And last but not least, a great tip is always use environmentally friendly sunscreen. So we're just asking you to keep that in mind. Join the Florida Coral Crew, get involved, and help us preserve and restore this really important ecosystem here at the Florida Reef Track. Remember, you can go to Florida's Coral Reef, you can go to flcoralcrew.com, and you can find out everything you need to know about what's going on. So I just wanted to add that. Bobby, I appreciate it. I'll take the camera back from you. Thank you, sir. And I'm coming over, and I think we've covered everything, but I'm actually going to ask you to switch places with the other officer so she can come over, and I'm going to ask her one thing before we wrap up. Officer Pesca, how are you?
I'm doing well.
You're doing
for
well.
having me.
Yes, thank you for joining us. And you were here in the Keys for a period of time. How many years did you work in the Keys?
About 5 years.
About 5 years. So you've done this lobster season at least 5 years, and you're back for another.
Yes, ma'am.
Can't stay away, right?
No, ma'am.
That's awesome, because we need people that are absolutely educated about the Keys down here. So you mentioned in your introduction that you are what position as well?
I'm the recruiter for the South Region Bravo. So I recruit for Miami-Dade, Monroe County, and Collier County.
Awesome. And by recruiter, you're recruiting for FWC law enforcement, right?
Yes, ma'am, for a law enforcement position. So if you are interested in becoming a law enforcement officer, or you know someone that does want to become one, they should get in contact with me. You can go to MyFWCvideos.com. There's going to be a link to talk to a recruiter, fill out that information, and either I or someone else around the state will get a hold of you.
Sounds good. And there's lots of information there at that link, but the recruiter is the first stop. If you're interested in coming down here and getting involved in this really awesome job of being an FWC law enforcement, coming down here to the Keys, and we brought in officers from around the state for this enforcement because it's so popular of an event. But get involved, join FWC, talk to a recruiter, and if you're in Miami-Dade, Monroe, or Collier counties, Officer Pesca is who your person is for the recruiter, and you can find her information online. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I'm going to wrap up, folks. Just giving you a little quick, one more glance. We've got people out here recreating, people traveling through the area that we're in. Everybody is out, for the most part, looking for lobster. And we hope you are out as well, enjoying the day. And if you're here in the Florida Keys, be safe. Keep an eye out, keep your dive flag up, and have a great lobster season.
Hey, take your dive flag down if you guys are done.